Why am I standing in front of this Falcon 9 rocket? Because today we're fat testing NASA. Space, where no fat guy has gone before. No, seriously, you have to be very fit to go to space. But today I'm at the Houston Space Center, fat testing NASA, which, what is a fat test? So normally that means that I go around fat testing rides. I go to theme parks, I show, but I want to show more than just that to get people out of their couches and out living their life. Maybe that's history, maybe that's space museums, maybe that's art museums, maybe it's your local park. But it's important to get out and go live your life. So that's why today we're here at the Houston Space Center. I remember watching the final shuttle landing in around, I think it was 2010, when it finally happened, and almost crying because America had no way to send people to space for the first time in decades. Looks like I almost have abs. That's a six-pack right there. Y'all want a real horror show, weighing in different atmospheres. What do I weigh in Neptune? Oh gosh, that's not flattering. Oh, I actually remember those numbers. That's terrifying. Can you dock the shuttle? Y'all, check out those 90s graphics.
The International Space Station.
For a bit more modern, we have the Angry Birds. So I'm trying to figure out like a flow to this place so I can figure out where to go. I don't really know where to start and like a path to take to see everything. So how do you think I'd do in there? This moon rock is from 1972. It's very smooth. Now I have no idea if that's smooth because, you know, tons of people touching it for 50 plus years. Here's some more pure samples kept in nitrogen. It's a very busy day. Can you imagine fitting in these? We went from the single man to the two man with the Gemini 5, where they then did the first spacewalk. This is the Apollo 17 module. This is the last of the Apollo missions. And this was a 3-person crew. The amazing thing is it's been over 50 years since we first landed on the moon, and the crazy thing is how still it deeply inspires us today. You know, the great thing about the space race was that it gave people something positive to look forward to. Americans going to space. Now, again, this was all caught up at the same time in the fight against communism, the fear of Russia and the Soviet Union. But Kennedy and then Johnson brought the country together to remind us that this was something that we could do together. We are going back to the moon. Artemis is the next series of missions, with Orion being the vehicle that will carry them to the moon. The International Space Station is only a 3-hour trip, but it's a 3-day trip to get to the moon. What happens when you do an Ask Me Anything at the Houston Space Center? Is my boo thing love for me as big as the moon? Are these nuts on the moon? This is all the different missions, starting over here with Alan Shepard in 1961. Apollo 11, where we finally landed on the moon. In 1983, Sally Ride becomes the first American woman in space. But in 1963, Valentina Tereshkova was the first female in space, obviously with the Soviets. So I guess the manned SpaceX launches are not on here, but on May 30th of 2020, when the world was shut down, space was reopened for Americans flying off of American soil, and that was actually my first trip to Orlando because they had to delay the first trip and the entire world was shut down, so everything was so cheap on flights, hotels, car rentals that I just decided to pick up and go. I'm like, I'm gonna go see the rescheduled one. So I actually went to Orlando and saw the trip take off as the launch, and it was amazing. I mean, like, I was really far away, but just to be with people and to know that once again Americans were going back into space from American soil was thrilling. They should have materials so kids can build their own lunar modules. Here's where we see Deep Space Nine starting to take its roots. This is going to be a lunar space station where it actually will circle the moon after the first few Artemis trips. The 6 times we actually landed on the moon. NASA is working on 2 separate projects, going back to the moon and the mission to Mars. I didn't realize we had a Mars lander back in 1971 and then the rover in 1997. Okay, I love that they sell moon pies. With everything that's happened in the world in the last 100 years of our history, I think this is one of our greatest signs of hope. That we can still make this work. Here's all the flights and shuttles this carried. They built models to test their theories. There were 135 space missions, 157 spacewalks. Can I just turn this thing into an apartment? Like, this is so massive. Here's the shuttle. Not a lot of space in here. You can also do a tour of the mission control here at Space Center Houston. Was not able to get that in the schedule today, but there's so much to do, and much like space, so much to explore. And keep following me for more Fat Tested Travel.